Every morning at exactly 8, I stopped by the same tiny tea shop before work. It became the one appointment I never missed. The shop was small, wood-warm and quiet, tucked between two busier storefronts most people walked straight past. He was always there, sitting by the window with a book, morning light falling softly across the page. He looked up sometimes, offering a warm, small smile before returning to his reading, unhurried and at ease. I took my usual seat nearby, ordering the same tea, letting the ritual settle over me before the day began. The tea itself was simple, warm, and a little bitter, the kind that tastes better the longer you let it sit. Morning after morning, the pattern repeated, quiet and steady, until it stopped feeling like coincidence at all. That small tea shop became the anchor of my day, the 1 hour that belonged entirely to itself. We never exchanged our names. It never seemed to matter, not in a room built for quiet mornings. Instead, we simply nodded when I walked in, a small greeting that asked nothing and promised nothing. We sipped our tea in comfortable silence, two strangers sharing a window and somehow never feeling like strangers. I never learned what he was reading. I liked not knowing, liked leaving some part of him a mystery. As the days passed, the silence between us grew more familiar than most of my actual conversations. That silence slowly became the most peaceful part of my life, steadier than anything I could explain to a friend. I never mentioned him to anyone. Some things feel truer when they're kept small and unspoken. Some peace, I was learning, doesn't need a single word to be real. One rainy morning, I arrived at the shop without an umbrella, rain already soaking through my sleeves. The storm outside the window grew heavier, drumming against the glass like it had somewhere urgent to be. I sat there, dreading the walk back out into it, my tea going cold faster than usual. He noticed, the way he always seemed to notice things without ever making it obvious that he had. Without a word, he slid his umbrella across the table toward me, closed and waiting. I looked up, startled, unsure for a moment what to do with a kindness that large and that quiet. I took it carefully, and for one long second, our eyes actually met properly for the first time. It was the first thing either of us had ever really given the other. It felt like more than an umbrella. The next morning, I wanted to give something back, some small proof that the kindness had landed. I stayed up the night before baking a batch of cookies, nervous in a way that surprised me. I arrived at the shop with one wrapped carefully in a napkin, my hands not quite steady. I set it down beside his teacup without a word, the way he had done with the umbrella. He looked at it, then at me, surprise and delight crossing his face at almost the same moment. He smiled, wider than I'd seen before, and for the first time, it felt aimed entirely at me. It was just a cookie, imperfectly shaped, but it carried more of me than I expected to give away. A new tradition had quietly begun, one neither of us needed to name out loud. After that, kindness became our language, replacing the conversations we were both too shy to begin. Small gestures became our vocabulary. A saved seat, a warmer teapot, a book set carefully aside. Some mornings I'd find my tea already ordered when I arrived, steam still rising, waiting just for me. Other mornings, he'd bring a small treat of his own, wordless and a little shy about it. Neither of us needed more than this. It already felt like more than most people ever get. The comfort between us grew slowly, the way warmth spreads through a cold room, and no one notices the exact moment. Even the other regulars began to notice, exchanging small, knowing smiles whenever we arrived within minutes of each other. We understood each other completely, and neither of us had said more than a few dozen words. Spring came, and the tree outside the window filled slowly with blossoms, pink and stubborn against the gray morning light. Petals drifted past the glass some mornings, catching in my hair on the short walk in from the street. Summer arrived with warm rain that never quite felt like weather worth complaining about. Not from that window seat. The evenings grew longer, and some mornings turned into unplanned afternoons, neither of us in any hurry to leave. Autumn turned the street gold, leaves gathering against the shop's door faster than anyone bothered to sweep them. The tea steamed a little more in the cooling air, and we lingered a little longer over each cup. Winter came quietly, and snow gathered on the windowsill, softening the whole street into something hushed and still. The glass frosted at the edges, but our corner of the shop stayed warm, tea in hand, exactly as always. One evening, I stayed later than usual, the shop emptying out around us into gold lamplight. It was quiet, in a different way than morning quiet. Softer, almost private. Just the two of us and the tea. For the first time, he spoke first, setting his book down like he'd been building up to it. "Do you think tea tastes better?" he asked, "when someone is waiting for you?" I sat there a moment, surprised by the sound of his voice as much as the question itself. I smiled, because I had been waiting for him long before I knew what the answer was. I told him yes, quietly, and something in his shoulders eased, like he'd been holding his breath. The silence between us had finally been broken, gently, and nothing about it felt lost. Years passed after that, and the ritual only grew steadier, the two of us at that same window. The tea shop became our second home, more familiar by then than either of our actual apartments. Quiet laughter became part of our mornings now, easy and unhurried, filling the space silence used to hold. Ordinary moments piled up into something I hadn't expected. Pouring tea, splitting a pastry, watching the street lake up. The old shop owner knew us well by then, pouring our usual order before we'd even reached the counter. Small traditions accumulated without either of us planning them, the way a life quietly builds itself around love. My whole life had shaped itself around that window seat, and I never once resented the shape it took. Happiness, I learned, isn't usually one big moment. It's built from thousands of small, repeated ones. Then, one winter morning, I walked in at 8 exactly, the way I always did. His chair by the window was empty, his book nowhere on the table where it always sat. I told myself he was only running late and ordered my tea and waited without much worry. He didn't come that day. I told myself the same thing again the next morning and the one after. Days turned into weeks, but I kept ordering 2 cups of tea anyway, unable to stop at just one. One morning, the old shop owner approached my table slowly, something folded carefully in his hands. He gently set down a small letter, his eyes kind and sorry, in a way that made my chest tighten. If you're drinking tea alone today, it read, don't cry. Every cup we shared became my happiest memory. He had been fighting an illness he never once let me see, never wanted me to carry it beside him. sat with that letter a long time, grief and gratitude arriving together, impossible to fully separate. I thought about staying away after that. Instead, the next morning, I came back to the same window. Now, every morning, I still sit by that same window, 2 cups of warm tea set carefully in front of me. One is for me, the other is for the love that never truly left. Not really, not completely. The seasons still change outside that glass. Blossoms and rain and gold leaves and snow, exactly as they always did. Some love stories, I've learned, aren't written in grand promises or big declarations at all. They're brewed quietly, 1 cup of tea at a time, morning after morning, for as long as you keep showing up.